Hi friends, welcome to the NPTEL course Business Development from Start to Scale. First of all, I will provide an introduction to the course. My name is C. Bhaktavatsal Rao, CB Rao in short. I have received my PhD degree in Industrial Management and MTech degree in Industrial Engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Chennai. I have received my BE degree in Mechanical Engineering from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. I have over 48 years of diversified experience in strategic and operational leadership of large reputed companies, including global MNCs in India. My last full time assignment was as Managing Director and Executive Chairman of Pfizer Healthcare India Private Limited. I have been passionate about writing and publishing as well as teaching. I have over 170 publications in economic and business dailies and refereed journals. I have established LeaderCrest Academy for high quality academic publishing. I have authored and published 10 books under LeaderCrest banner over the last 5 years. I am currently serving as Ajit Swingi Chair Professor in Management Studies DOMS at the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Chennai. I serve as non-executive director on the boards of select companies and also render some advisory services for Indian and multinational corporations. I have offered three courses: Entrepreneurship, Perspectives of Business Strategy and Economic Development, Leadership for India Inc., Practical Concepts and Constructs, and Strategy and Technology, a practical primer on NPTEL Swayam platform. This course, which is being offered this semester, is the fourth one, therefore. The other course, Leadership for India Inc., Practical Concepts and Constructs, is also being offered in parallel. Business development is the process of identifying, defining, and shaping the known and unknown customer needs. It helps the company develop products and services that meet customer needs. Business development is a partnership process that co creates value for the company and its customers. Business development helps a company understand the mega trends that are emerging in the economy and in the industry. It leverages the competencies of individuals as well as the organization in the overall. It delivers on a socio-economic purpose as well. This course is a very unique course. It is a comprehensive study of business development, concepts, models, methodologies, and tools. It is a unique integration of the adjunct domains such as strategic marketing, business strategy, and business models with the core course of business development. It provides end to end value chain perspectives that are needed for effective business development. In doing so, it also integrates several real life examples and case studies. As you cruise through the course, you will understand the building blocks of business, the drivers of company and customer connect, and you also will understand how you can create the right business impact by a mastery of business development. All of this will lead to enterprise growth, economic prosperity, and professional fulfillment. This is a 12-week course, and each week will focus on one theme, and each lecture will focus on one topic. The themes are business fundamentals, business development strategies, industry structure and company analysis, market and competitor analysis, connecting with customers, business and market segments, branding and pricing, corporate development, business development structures, business development competencies, strategies for markets and industries, and finally, five important business development case studies. The course will end with a summary capsule course, that is an enclosing capsule capstone course. This course is enriched by multiple case studies, and these case studies cover businesses and industries in varying shades. Startups, companies, and conglomerates will be covered as part of the case work. As I said, this is a 12-week course. There will be 61 lectures in total, 5 lectures per week, excluding the summary course at the end. There will be end of the week assignments. Each week will focus on one core theme. Each lecture will cover specific topics. I will be providing several illustrative and experiential examples throughout. The course will feature, as I said, case studies of BD leading to enterprise value creation. These are full scale case studies of how a company has grown from its initial stages to the current scaled up stage. There are around 1600 data and information related slides, and this is a very unique course delivery mechanism that I have followed throughout my NPTEL lecture series. And you will find these course materials very useful, not only now for the course purposes but also as a guidance document set as you go along your professional journey. It will have several global and local perspectives as part of the coursework, and there will be focus not only on the strategic aspects of business development but also on the tactical requirements of business development. For better visual presentation, I have used certain images from public domain or under Creative Commons, but this is done purely for educational purposes and the copyrights, if any, are duly respected. What are the unique features of this course? One, it provides a detailed and integrated overview of the growth driving domain of business development. Two, it lays out the strategies and tactics of business development through multiple frameworks and models. Three, it links up business development with strategic marketing, a very, very important strategic adjacency to lead to enterprise competitiveness, growth, and sustainability. This course will be found useful by a broad spectrum students, working professionals, and as academicians to develop and hone their strategic skills in integrating multiple technology insights. As I said, multiple adjunct areas are covered in this and it embeds strategic marketing approaches all through. Upon completion of the course, participants are likely to achieve four important developmental capabilities. One, you would have acquired critical business development skills. You would be understanding the art and science of formulating and executing business development approaches. You will also become a development visionary because of the nature of the theory constructs, nature of the case studies. You will understand and appreciate how to be visionary and strategist for your company, and you will understand business development in terms of the current course of development as well as in the futuristic potential, and you will be able to understand how to be anticipatory and also execution oriented in your professional journey. So in all, you will be a development visionary. Thirdly, you will be leveraging multiple functions in your business development activity after the course is completed and you understand how multiple functions are integrated with business development domain. That you will be understanding and appreciating the role of multiple functions in driving business development, and you will respect them and also you will utilize them appropriately with respect. And finally, because of the inputs that are received, your personal gravitas will enhance. You will become holistic professionals with personal gravitas that translates to positive company image. Now we will come to the course per se. The domain of business development integrates various strategies, processes, and tasks to drive a firm's business performance. It requires close interface with various other functions, aligning with the vision, mission, and strategy of the firm. Business development is a process that is both tactical and strategic in nature. It involves initiatives within the company and between the company and its customers. So, when you talk about a company, there are different types of companies. There are small companies as well as large companies. If you want to understand the hierarchy of companies, you can move at a global group level and come to the smallest entity called the product. So, if you take the example of Tata Group is a group. It has got several companies within the conglomerate umbrella that Tata Group is. And each company may have several businesses as well. For example, if you take the Tata Consumer Beverages business, it is a part of the Tata Consumer Products company as a whole. Therefore, each company will have sub businesses which are important for the company's development. And each business could even have a division within itself, and each division would have a product. And driving all of these things together is a process which top leaders are entrusted with. They need to develop the vision and mission for the company, they need to develop the business strategy for the company, and cascade those strategies into functional strategies. So, short term performance, which is important for the company to be successful and profitable, long term performance to make the company sustainable and growth oriented for the future, are two critical aspects of business strategy and business development. And this course tries to provide you enough insights into these two activities. And when you have short term performance ticking very well, when you have long term performance shaping up very well, you will have, on the whole, sustainable performance for the company as well as the conglomerate in case a conglomerate is involved. There are two key streams of inquiry in business development. With respect to any business or any industry, business development is influenced by two important streams of factors. One, the supply side factors. Two, the demand side factors. What are the supply side factors? The industry factors, the nature of the industry, the inputs to the industry, the outputs to the industry, the linkages with the environment, and so on. There are also firm factors, that is, what are the firms which are the constituents of the industry and what kind of products they provide. Coming to the demand side factors, you have the customer needs, you have the environmental requirements and imperatives, and there are also behavioral response factors which are somewhat independent but very influential on all of these factors. When you look at the supply side factors, you have the nature of the industry, you have the number of competitors that are operating in the industry, as well as the collaborators who are operating in the industry. In terms of the demand side factors, the demographic factors related to the customers, the attitudes, beliefs, and preferences that the customers have, and these are the important aspects. But influencing the demand are certain enabling factors. It could be related to the economic factors, environmental factors, social factors, community factors, or the overall global factors. The frameworks and constructs proposed in this course will address the above in an interconnected manner. I'll be dealing with each of these sub-subjects progressively, but in as much depth as possible within the boundaries of this course. So, what do we have as a learning outcome? As I said, we'll try to understand the business development methodology as a key component of business strategy and corporate development. We'll also focus on the roles and responsibility of the heads of business development, how they should be partners to the CEO and other CXOs. We will also analyze how different contexts require different business development strategies. We'll also master the tools and techniques that build long term value for customers and companies for business partnerships. In addition, we will also develop a critical thinking process. How do we develop and present professional analysis through formal presentation will be one of the important byproducts of this course for you. But before we go into greater depth, let's understand certain important terms that keep popping up from time to time in this course. You yourself, as part of your other academic studies as well as your professional journeys, frequently come across the terms sales, marketing, and business development. Many people use these three terms almost synonymously or in substitution of each other, but not. It is really not so. There are important differences between sales, marketing, and business development. What is sales? In essence, sales is the process of selling a product or service to a customer at a given point of time. Marketing, on the other hand, is the process of addressing the total market for a product to develop and fulfill demand over a lifetime and over a timeline. Business development is the process of creating partnerships between the company and other stakeholders for developing the business. If it is so, what is the orientation of a typical sales officer, a marketing officer, and a business development officer? A salesperson or a sales functionary typically looks at the transaction between the firm and the customer. I am offering the product of the company. I need the consideration from the customer, and that has to be a mutual consideration and hopefully a mutually beneficial consideration. Marketing, on the other hand, looks at the experience of the customer with the product and tries to create a long term association. It is not just today's sale, but it's the long term relationship that is the focus of marketing. Business development create structures and relationships for long-term value creation for the company as well as for the customers. As you can see, the focus and the thrust of the functionaries representing sales, marketing, and business development vary significantly. What is the respective foci? Salesperson looks at company needs and targets. Marketing person looks company needs but looks at the trends. A business development person looks at the business synergy between the company and its customers. The scope of a salesperson typically is at the sales level. A marketing person looks at all activities, including but not limited to market research, piloting of a product, sale, and service. So, marketing is much more comprehensive. And a business development person looks at all the activities related to, but not limited to, analyzing mutual business needs and fulfilling the needs. Business development not only looks at the company's perspectives, but also the partner's perspective and creates a lasting relationship. The methodology of a salesperson is to induce shoppers and customers to buy. The methodology of the marketing person is to create a customer centric experience. And the business development executive looks at developing a value proposition that is tenable for a strategic association. The metrics by which a salesperson judges himself or herself and the company itself judges him or her is through revenue and profit metrics. Marketing is judged by the brand value it is able to create. We constantly do brand audits in well developed FMCG and other companies to assess the effectiveness of a marketing function. Business development is assessed through the business growth. The rule that sales adopts is caveat emptor, marketing caveat vendor, and business development transparency. Techniques that are adopted by the salesperson: product, price, place, and promotion. I'll present the techniques that are offered, the platforms that are offered by marketing in its quest, 4 V's. I'll present them during the course. And business development looks at 4 C's. Again, these will be presented as we go through the course. So, this combination of 4 P's, 4 V's, and 4 C's is again a very unique offering of this course. You will not find it in any singular text. The skills required for a salesperson are selling and communication skills. The skills required for marketing person are conceptual and analytical skills, whereas for the business development person, strategic business skills and value chain capabilities will be required. The objectives, of course, are in terms of business. The salesperson looks at business growth. Marketing person looks at sustainable business growth, not just yearly targets. The marketing person looks at long-term growth targets, whereas a business development person looks at sustainable strategic business growth. So when you look at this as an overall summary, you will find that there are important differences between sales, marketing, and business development. We cannot conclude, however, that business development is superior to marketing and marketing is superior to sales. Nor can we conclude the other way. All the three functions are required and each has got its unique role, important role. One provides immediate annual sales, the other provides sales annually but in a growing fashion, and the third provides durable, sustainable partnerships for the company's growth. So there are important differences between these three subfunctions, even as each of these functions is involved with business growth. So now time has come to define business. What is business? Business is the activity of an organization to develop, manufacture, and or market products and or services to individuals or entities, and the objective is to earn revenues and profits and generate returns to the investors. That is what business is about. There are many types of businesses, and there are so many businesses, hundreds of them actually, that it is impossible to list them out here. But you can look at few important types of businesses. You can have a business that is manufacturing oriented. You can have businesses that are marketing oriented. There could be product oriented businesses, service oriented businesses, integrated businesses, and R&D businesses. Spark, an R&D subsidiary of Sun Pharma, focuses only on designing and developing molecules for medicinal needs. It's an R&D oriented business. Therefore, it's an R&D business. Lonza, a third party supplier, developer and manufacturer, contract manufacturer and developer, as we call such companies, develops products and services based on manufacturing requirements of other companies. There are companies which look at marketing themselves to provide certain services, marketing businesses. There are companies which provide out and out, very involved, very complex products. You take the example of Hitachi Medical Systems, which provides imaging equipment or other kind of medical devices. There are companies which are very much in service, healthcare service, for example. Apollo Hospitals is a leading example. And when we talk about integrated businesses, they do development, that is R&D, manufacturing, marketing, and various other functions are involved in this process. Sun Pharmaceuticals is an example of such integrated business. So, if business is what I have stated so far, what is business development? I have talked about business development in its overall context, but let us look at a few other insights of business development. Business development involves anticipating, identifying, and developing opportunities for enhancing business. There are three aspects of business development which we must be cognizant of. One, a transactional aspect. Second, a reinforcing aspect. And third is a futuristic aspect. What is the transactional aspect? Like sales and marketing, business development also provides products and services to customers through commercial relationships. If, as a business development executive, have no products or services to offer, there is no basis for dialogue with another partner. So, a partner looks for products and services from another partner. As a business development executive, even if you don't have current products and services, you can develop a relationship based on future products and services. So, that is the transactional aspect of business development. The second aspect of business development is continuous reinforcing of relationships by developing collaborations, alliances, and partnerships with various business entities. You can provide a network of business connectivity, marketing connectivity for the company. And third, business development is always futuristic. It tries to identify opportunities not only as per the classic product market grid but also by spotting the mega trends of the future. So, the responsibility of business development is very vast. As I briefly mentioned, there are allied functions and processes for business development. Fundamentally, business strategy is very much alike to business development because it sets the context and provides the direction. A business development cannot go into the market or to the industrial place and do whatever the person wants. Whatever the business development person does needs to be aligned with the business strategy of the company. Secondly, business development has to eventually lead to marketing. That is, the company and its brand, as well as the products and services, must be promoted as part of the business development activity. And once that is done at a macro level or a high level or at a strategic level, marketing function takes over and helps. The third one is that the entire series of processes which I have outlined, strategy, business development, marketing, must result in a robust sales platform. The enhanced sales and business that come eventually from the business development activity is the proof of the success of business development activity in any company. These are the allied functions and processes which are very much integrated with business development in any company. Having talked about selling, marketing, and business development, let's look at these processes. The selling process is a fairly standardized, straightforward process, and it occurs between a seller and a buyer in a marketplace. You start with prospecting. You try to understand who is the customer, whether the customer needs the product. Then you make an initial contact. You qualify that lead. This customer is capable of purchasing. Then you approach the lead. You demonstrate the product. You have the proposal as well as the clarification for the customer to appreciate the product. Then you try to close the sale. You collect the cash and then you repeat the contact. This is the typical selling process, and it is happening because company and customer need a bridge, and the bridge is the product or service sale. And who makes it happen? The salesperson. When you look at the strategic marketing process, that is a more rigorous and customized process. It discovers and develops the marketplace, and it also helps the company execute in the marketplace. So it tries to understand the market through its research. It identifies the trends and it defines the market. For example, are the consumers preferring energy drinks, or they are preferring the fruit beverages, or are they preferring the carbonated drinks? What are the trends that are now available? Within the fruit drinks, are you preferring as a customer the pulpy fruit drink or non-pulpy fruit drink? Is there a preference in terms of sugary or non-sugary fruit beverages? Is there a trend in terms of tetra packing or normal packing? So which works well? So these are the trends that are understood and presented to the company by the marketing person. Once you do all of that market research, you segment the market, and then you create product for the market segment, or these segments you create several products. Then you prove the concept, and then you align the business and market strategy. The development of business strategy takes place as a high level process, but it doesn't mean that market and market research cannot influence the business strategy. Therefore, there would be an alignment of business and market strategy in a dynamic, agile, and flexible organization. Then you position the company and the product and execute and monitor the marketing plan. Let's say you have the example of edible oils. There are a number of edible oils, but which edible oil is preferred by which customer? That is the homemaker. For which need? Is it for shallow frying, deep frying, simple cooking, and for what other purposes? And depending upon that, you position a particular edible oil for that. And what are the characteristics the person is looking for in the edible oil? Is this kind of a look, feel, or is it in terms of the frying capability? Is it in terms of the nutritional capability? How heart healthy the oil is? These are all the features that are implicit in a customer's mind, and some of the features you can advocate and make them implicit in the customer mind. And finally, therefore, you create a marketing plan which company executes. Here, the linkage is between the product and the business, and the marketplace is the transaction platform for that to happen. Then look at the business development process. It is a conceptual and analytical process of fusing the company and customer value chains. First of all, you will introspect on the company value chain. You identify the value points and value gaps through the value chain. You identify potential partners and you understand who is complementary to you. For example, you are a manufacturer of a castings, and an automobile company is a demand source for the castings. The automobile manufacturer doesn't have a foundry, and you have a foundry, but you don't have any end use. So you are ideal partners to each other. There are important complementary value points and gaps. You try to identify several such relationships and make those relationships become actual in practice. Then you discuss the potential to reinforce each other's value chain. It could happen across the borders as well. Overseas automobile companies may be requiring high quality but low cost components. That is the value perception they have of India. And you have to prove to them that your company has got that capability to supply components that fill the value point as well as the value gap. Therefore, you create a combined value proposition. You should never say, as a business development person, that this is what is the value proposition that sells for me. You should look at a value proposition that develops the partnership between two companies and is a win win for both the companies. And then you test the strategic feasibility and economic viability. Why do you do that? You want to understand whether the partner has got the long standing history as well as the capability to be a long standing partner for the future. Similarly, the other partner will look at your financial strength, your ability to deliver on the promises, and so on. Once you do that, you are going to align the business market strategy and business model. And then you enter into a partnership agreement. You execute and monitor the partnership. So, in this case, value proposition is the bridge between partner A and partner B. Business development, therefore, is a networking and partnership process that is aligned to the business strategy for the firm's sustainable growth. So you have seen that there is a sales process, there is a marketing process, and there is a business development process. All of these things lead to improved business, enhanced business for the company. But the way the process organizes itself, the way the process is conceptualized, the way the process is executed is different in respect of each of these three sub-functions, namely sales, marketing, and business development. So already you have heard a lot about the word strategy, and I'm hopeful that you would have gone through a strategy course. Even if you haven't gone through a strategy course, you will find enough inputs in this course of strategy, which is definitely a value add for you. Simply put, strategy is a plan of action to achieve certain goals. Many times, goals are also set by the strategy process itself. It is not that magically you think of a goal that I have a mission of becoming a clean energy company. It also comes as a part of your discovery process in strategy formulation. As you undergo the strategy process, you cross the various stage gates of understanding the environment and competition. You will discover that there are several other goals that could be very important for you. So, goals are set usually for the strategy process, but the strategy process itself can help you fine tune the goals or create new goals. Michael Porter popularized competitive strategy rather than just strategy as the key concept. As you try to understand strategy, you are always going to be faced with two philosophical dilemmas. First philosophical dilemma: is strategy one of analysis or intuition? Second, is strategy a game of mirrors? That is, company A does adopt a particular strategy and you try to adopt that kind of strategy. So, is it a game of mirrors or is it something very unique for each firm? And to answer that, we have to delve a little deeper into what strategy is and how universalized understanding of strategy can be. Strategic context is the context which an industry faces, a firm faces, and a competition faces. Let's say the crude oil prices go up. Then the strategic context for the paints company is that the cost of the paint will go up because crude and its byproducts are important inputs for the paint manufacturing process. If the semiconductors are in short supply, the automobile production gets reduced and the cost of production itself could go up. That is the strategic context. So there is a strategic context for every industry. There is a strategic context for the firm, and there is a strategic context for competition. If the Russia-Ukraine war reduces the supply of grains or makes the supply of crude edible oils wavy and volatile, that is an important strategic context for firms which are in FMCG business or edible oil business in the country. So strategic context is very important. And how do you understand the strategic context and how do you position yourself in the strategic environment? You have three core disciplines. One, industry analysis. You must be able to understand the industry in all its aspects, including the linkages with the environment. You should understand how to strategically position the industry and how the industry is strategically positioned. And you should be able to analyze the competitors because the competitor behavior is also influencing how a company can develop its own strategy. So, strategic context is what is available to you. Core disciplines are the levers that are available to position yourself in the strategic context. And whether you take an analytical route to strategy or an intuitive route to strategy, whether you look at strategy as an innovative process or just as a game of following the other, is left to the wisdom and the innovative bent of mind of the strategist and the CEO in a company. But as a matter of principle, if your strategy is futuristic, forward looking, if your strategy tries to take care of the mega trends that are emerging, if the strategy is backed up by the competencies in the organization, and in doing so, you don't forget or ignore the short term performance considerations, then that strategy will be effective and competitive. The study of competitive strategy is not a study only for the strategy function. It is integral to the study of any function. That's because for a firm, The competitive strategy goes beyond the sum of functional strategies. It is something more than that. It is a very synergistic strategy. Take into account strategies of various other functions. The former must drive the latter and not vice versa. The functional strategies have to be derived from the overall business strategy or the corporate strategy. It should not be that you adopt certain functional strategies, therefore, you would try to build a corporate strategy based on the functional strategies. That is not the way to do it. Now, to delve little deeper, let's understand that strategy itself can have three layers. The first layer or the core is the business strategy. That is what you would need to do in the business that you are handling. For a diversified automobile firm, having better penetration in the light commercial vehicles is a business strategy for the LCV business group. Similarly, meeting the diesel generation needs of the industry, diesel power backup needs of the industry is the business strategy for another business of the company. Meeting the marine engine needs is another business strategy. Meeting the truck and bus needs again is another business strategy. So a company may have different business strategies. When you amalgamate and harmonize all of these business strategies, you get a strategy for the corporation, which is called the corporate strategy. And when you network all the corporate strategies of all the companies in a conglomerate, you get a conglomerate strategy. Therefore, you need to understand the concentric circle model of developing strategy from the business to the corporate to the conglomerate. And within the corporate strategy, you have several layers: R&D, operations, marketing, finance, HR, IT, which broadly correspond to the functions. There will be a lot of iteration among various functions as well as between the functions on one hand and business strategy on the other. And typically, business strategy is the one which is going to lead to functional strategies. Just because you have an supercomputer in your company and you have a very developed IT department, it cannot mean that you will do something that is wholly related to information technology. You may leverage your superior IT capability, but you will choose a business and a business strategy that is more sustainable, more revenue producing, and more futuristic. And there are also other aspects such as the founder's interests and values, the overall group philosophy, and so on. So, with this, we come to the end of this lecture one of the first week. I hope you enjoyed the introduction to the course and laying out of the some fundamental drivers of business development in a company. And I look forward to meeting you again in the second lecture of week one. Thank you very much.